Hi, my name is Raman. I'm the Chief Health Span Officer for BioAero, and I sit on the Board of Directors for the BioSport. And I'm excited to have with me a few guests here. I've got Noman Ali, who is a nurse practitioner, works very closely with different athletes in his primary care prevention practice. And I was looking at this incredible pamphlet, and I see there's a picture of Hayden on here. So we also have Hayden Mayer. He's the BioSport ambassador, two-time world championship medalist. Tell us a little bit about that, Hayden.
I'm been with the Canadian national team for 7 or 8 years now. Won my first world championship medal in 2023, I believe, in the Netherlands with the men's team pursuit, and followed it up with another one back-to-back the season afterwards, and now working towards qualifying a spot on the Olympic team again with the men's team pursuit.
Wow, good luck on that. When do you find out if you...
Not till about a month before the Olympics, so it's pretty last second, yeah.
Well, we wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
I hear that you've got some questions to ask us, and you're curious about some things. We'd love to see if we could share our knowledge with you.
Yeah, I'd love to know kind of what your thoughts are on kind of the impact of gut health around energy, energy around athletic performance and your general health, and approaching a high performance training environment like we are on a daily basis. Like, what is paying more attention to that going to bring to athletic performance?
Absolutely, that's a great question. We've always heard that saying, I have a gut feeling. And quite often we kind of ignore that. But there is a lot of merit to that gut feeling. We're starting to get more and more into the world of gut health and really understanding those millions and trillions of little microorganisms that live in our gut and how much impact they have not only on our digestion, but our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, as well as our sports performance. So depending on what kind of microorganisms are specific to your microbiome, can really make a difference on how you metabolize that energy, how you utilize that energy, how your energy levels are, and even in terms of your mental health, so how you're performing. So our gut microbiome is specific to each person. It's like our fingerprint. So when we get tested and we kind of see what bacteria are in there, we can see if there's a bit of an imbalance, or if we're feeding the right guys or not feeding the right ones, and really adjust our lifestyles to make it more efficient for us.
I'd be curious kind of to know what injuries you tend to see most as a nurse practitioner coming from high performance sport.
Yeah, for sure. So I do see quite a few athletes, and a big part of the injuries that we see in primary care, really a lot of them are overuse injuries, right? So as you are well aware, a lot of the mechanics that you use in your sports, and not just your sport, but all high performance sports, there are a lot of repetitive actions, right? Even in your training. So a lot of, for example, tendon and ligament injuries, inflations that happen. So those are primarily a lot of things that we see, and really treating that is it's a very holistic approach to it. As you already alluded to the fact that, right, the gut-brain axis, a lot of that is included into treating the injuries that we see as well. Because everything that you're putting into your body adds to the inflammatory response, and of course vice versa, of course, in the injury as well. So.
Hi, it's so great to have you here today, Leanna.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about bobsleigh and the sport you're in, and kind of where you're at in your journey of your sport.
Yeah, so I'm a bobsleigh athlete. I've been competing in bobsleigh for 5 years now. Last year was my first season as a pilot, and I'm trying to qualify a spot for the 2026 Cortina Olympics. Very stressful year, but looking forward to it.
Well, we wish you all the luck, and I'm sure that you'll be successful. So we've got Noman here as well, who's a nurse practitioner that works a lot with athletes and different sport enthusiasts. I understand that you might have a question for one of us. What can we kind of answer for you?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, how could sport genomic testing help athletes understand their risks for injury or challenges with recovery?
Well, that's a great question. Do you want to field that?
Sure, I'll take that. So an important part of sports genomics is, or really any kind of genomic testing, is that understanding your genes gives you your risk factors. And as you know, even in sports, tailoring specific type of treatment to you is really important. And the way we could do that is, and part of it really is sports genomics. When we get your genetic understanding, your makeup, we can tell you what your risk factors are for. For example, some people have higher genetic makeup for cardiac disease. And we've heard of a lot of stories where athletes have unfortunately had cardiac events on sports when they didn't know anything about it. So when you have a genetic testing done, for example, we get an understanding of your cardiac risk factors, and you can get testing for that done, and potentially prevent any injuries and health conditions.
And kind of further to that, you could even look at things like, so when you look at something like the BioSport, it looks at over 15,000 different gene variants that actually relate back to sport. So even simple things like some people may not realize they have a connective tissue disorder, which would highly impact things like their injury risk, maybe tears, tendinitis, different inflammations. So by understanding what you may be at risk for can really impact what kind of injuries or your risk of injuries and even your recovery might be.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Hi, welcome to the BioSport Lounge. Today we have Christina here with us, who is a Olympian, part of the bobsleigh team in the earlier days. Is that fair to say, Christina? And we also have Noman here, who is a nurse practitioner. All of us are kind of in the world of sport, and I didn't introduce myself. My name is Raman, and I am one of the board members for the BioSport, as well as a registered dietitian. We're so excited to have you here today, Christina. I know that you're also on the advisory council for the BioSport. Tell us a little bit about, why you chose to be a part of the BioSport.
Anything that's involved with science, I'm a bit of a geek around that, and really all about the body, anything that can optimize your health, your wellness, your daily life, your quality of living, as well as, of course, within sports. And so having, being an Olympian, it's something that I feel is kind of a door that I step through, wanting to bring others with me.
Amazing.
And wanting to share that, say, time in my life to bring attention to the good things that are going on in the world. And I just feel so honored to be living in Calgary, of all places,
Right?
where BioSport and BioAero, this is like their home turf. So it's very exciting.
Thank you. And so, the world of sport has actually grown a lot. And I think when we look at sports and we look at things like longevity, we think that an athlete's longevity is often impacted a lot by age. But we know that most times an athlete's career tends to end not because of age, but because of maybe injury, or maybe how they recover from injury. I'd love to hear, if you have any thoughts on that, or if you have any questions for us that we could answer.
Yes, actually, injuries were something that I felt very, very lucky in my career to have not had many. However, I do have injuries in my brain, so that's unfortunate. And I feel that, anything that we're doing, if there's any ability to, have that ability to have that quality of life post the career of sports. And so I believe that anything that we're doing and that you're expanding and exploring and, through science, anything can, of course, help athletes like myself who've been in an aggressive sport and have had injuries that are invisible, for example, that this could very well help in that quality of life, as well as just being part of, the pioneering of technology.
Yeah, I was going to
that I'm
ask you
wearing.
about this machine. So you're wearing what we
Yeah.
call a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitor. Now, maybe you could tell us really quickly what the benefit of wearing a 24 ambulatory blood pressure monitor is, especially for athletes.
Sure, of course. So, as we've alluded to it, the 24-hour blood pressure monitor is monitoring your blood pressure over a 24-hour period. An important part of this is that disease like hypertension is often very silent and usually doesn't come with any symptoms until and unless when it gets to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So the benefit of athletes using this machine is really finding out what your regular blood pressure is, and if that sets within the standard of normality within the medicine field. So if you have high blood pressure, treating it early is really important, and this is one way of managing it and monitoring.
Amazing. Thank you.
I actually stereotypically have low blood pressure. But then again, what I think I have, there could be things that are hiding, right, within
Absolutely.
myself.
Yeah.
So, I really love the fact that, yes, we're focusing on athletes and on sports and high performance, but I truly believe that what you're doing should be accessible to everybody, because everybody deserves quality of life, anti-aging, longevity, all those buzzwords like biohacking. This is so exciting, not just for the athletes, but for everybody.
Absolutely, and you know, these machines are available. If people want to see that, they can go to our They'll Walk website, which is doing a campaign around trying to target 100,000 Albertans.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so-
amazing.
Yeah, wonderful.
Holy.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, I do have another
Oh, I'd
question.
love to hear it.
One of the things is I keep hearing about, you know, how probiotics, when you take probiotics, you know, they say it's very healthy for you. However, now I've been hearing that the gut actually can deteriorate what the purpose of taking probiotics is all about. So can you explain, how do you bypass what the gut technically does, I guess, to the probiotic?
So probiotics are very specific bacteria that have a function in our gut. When you're using probiotics, you know, many people think you can just take over-the-counter probiotics and they're good for overall health. But probiotics, each probiotic actually has a very specific function. And the best way to get the probiotics is probably through food, because they're in their natural environment. When we're buying probiotics over the counter, quite often we're not aware of how long they've been sitting there, how many bacteria are actually living in that. And you're right, when we eat them, do they even make it into the large intestine where they're supposed to be helping, you know, the whole gut flora? So the best way to get probiotics is first to understand what need you have and focus on food and lifestyles to help grow that right balance in the microbiome.
So is that essentially the transition, because you were the one that took my blood, and now with the results for the DNA testing, is it now, do I sit with you or somebody else like to go over those results and to find out what the optimum way for me to, you know, say tweak my current lifestyle? Is
Yeah,
that?
so there is a whole, we do something called a proprietary score called the BioFit score,
Okay.
which will help you understand what your genetics show. In terms of the whole microbiome, there's also, you know, sometimes we do something called a gut microbiome test, which is based on a stool sample. And so that looks at kind of what bacteria exist in your individual gut.
Okay. Now, are you thinking of bringing on some new supplements or a
Absolutely.
supplement line,
So
something like that?
just like our microbiome is individualized, one of the goals of the BioSport long-term, or in the future, is we're looking to customize supplements, customize nutrition, customize wearable devices, orthotics, whatever the case may be, because each one of us is unique. So therefore, what we're putting in and on our body needs to be unique too, based on our individual DNA, our microbiome. So that's definitely the direction that we're heading in.
And I think that's a big educational piece, is to really understand everybody is not a cookie cutter kind of
Absolutely.
thing. All systems are so unique to the individual. And I
Absolutely.
think that that's what I really celebrate about BioSport.
Thank you.
I think customized health is our future, really.
Yeah.
And we always talk about preventative medicine, and a lot of it is you can't prevent standardly, you prevent per person.
Yeah.
So customized health is important, and that's what BioSport is doing.
Yeah, so cool. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.